Do you ever wonder why you're doing what you do in life? Do you wish that you could be really happy and passionate about what you do? Or maybe you already are and you want to expand in a different direction. Hi, I'm Barbara Ann, host of What the Why? I love what I do. A lot of that has to do with my story, my journey to this point in life. And guess what? Everybody has a story. So please join me for conversations with leaders from all walks of life about what they do, and more importantly, why they do it, how they found their core purpose, their passion, their mission in life. And if you're looking for your own, maybe you'll get some great suggestions on how you too can find your why. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of What the Why. If you haven't seen us before, our show features conversations with diverse leaders from all walks of life about why they do what they do and how they figured it out. Maybe you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, or you feel stuck and you want to get unstuck, whether it's in your company, your career, your life. All of our guests have something in common with you. At some point in their lives, they felt like they needed to make a change and they decided to do it. And today's guest is no exception. Please join me in welcoming Guy Gane. Guy is a published author of 3 books. He's a speaker and he's a thought leader. He has a very interesting background. I won't share what he originally wanted to be because that's my first question, but I will share that he eventually became a stockbroker with multiple offices nationally, and he achieved tremendous success over his 34-year career. Toward the end of that career, he was accused of money laundering and mail fraud. And he's going to talk a little bit about how that came to be. Because like many people, he didn't do it. And I know there's a running joke about how people in prison didn't. No, I've known people. I've had the sad privilege of meeting a number of people who were actually innocent of the crimes that they were accused of. And Guy fought with the feds for years to prove his innocence, as well as passing multiple polygraph tests. Yet he was still handed a bone-crushing 13-year prison sentence. Well, suffice to say, he's not in anymore. And Guy's advocacy now is to encourage his audience to never give up, despite setbacks, difficulties, and obstacles. He's been a guest on a number of podcasts, as well as hosted his own radio show for 5 years, and he's appeared on local as well as national TV. His message firmly holds the listener's attention and demonstrates through his own life experiences that all things are possible when you believe you can achieve them. So please, without further ado, join me in a round of applause welcoming Guy Gane to What the Why. So yay! So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Barbara Ann. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's an honor. Now, as you know, all of our guests get the same first question, which is why I didn't give that hint away. What did you want to be when you were growing up?
I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a criminal attorney, actually. I always thought that that was a career that was fascinating to me, and I thought I could be a good one. Yeah, I love to talk, so I think that lawyers, that's probably one of the first things that most lawyers need to do. But I always felt a calling toward, which is ironic the way things worked out, toward the law. And it was then I thought, well, maybe someday, who knows? Maybe I'll go into politics. And I remember when I was 12 years old, and somebody had asked me. I was making my confirmation back then. Might have been 10 actually. I was 10, and I remember my confirmation sponsor asked me what I wanted to do or what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I said, well, I want to be president of the United States someday. So anyway, but the thing is that life has ways of readjusting our thinking and readjusting our paths, and we go with the flow, so to speak. So, but that's what I wanted to do to answer your question. I wanted to be an attorney.
Okay. Now, how did you get from wanting to be an attorney to being here talking to me and doing what you do now?
Yeah. Well, I started in the investment business when I was 20 years old. I was in the middle of college at the time, and that proverbial, I'll go back, I'm going to take 2 semesters off and I'll go back next year. My mom and dad were really beside themselves that I was going to just really take some time off from school because I was going to school to become an attorney. And I found the business just absolutely fascinating. And as the years went by, by the way, when I started in the investment business was in November of 1974. I hate to date myself like this, but in any event, when I started with the firm, the Dow Jones, which let me put things into perspective before I tell you what it was then. Right now, it's over 43,000, the Dow. When I started in November, I believe it was the 27th of November of 1974, it was 577, 577. So I'd seen a lot over the years. But, during the 80s, of course, is when the market really got very popular with Mr. and Mrs. Average American. Because up until that time, it was really what was considered the very rich, only the rich invested. But once mutual funds became more and more accessible and more popular, and especially with the growth of the retirement accounts, 401ks, 403bs, IRAs, more and more people became involved. And today, I think you'd be hard pressed to find someone, if they're still working, that don't have some sort of a plan like that. So to answer your question, though, as the years went by and I became, more experienced, I decided to open up my own firm in the mid 90s. And I eventually opened up 5 offices, or I was about to open up my fifth one actually, along the East Coast. And we're doing very, very well, really, really well. Our clients were doing well because I morphed from just being a stockbroker who charged commissions to buy and sell to a registered investment advisor that I could still, buy and sell stock, although that wasn't what my focus was. My focus was is to help people manage their money. So becoming a registered investment advisor allowed me to manage people's money and charge them a fee. I charged 2% for anything under 500,000, and then that number just kept going down. But I say this because it was a wonderful thing for me to do because, you know, a stockbroker makes money whether the client does or not. When you buy, there's a commission. When you sell, there's a commission. And as a registered investment advisor, I could never tell, or as a broker either, I could never tell a client, "Hey, I guarantee you, I'm going to make you money." You just can't do that. But as a registered investment advisor, what I could say and did say to my clients is that, yes, I charge you 2% fee, a yearly fee, but if I don't make you money, I won't charge you. I'll continue to manage your account until I do. And what I would do is review their account. And I had a very close relationship with all of my clients. And eventually I was bringing in brokers. I had, brokers that worked for me as well. And again, I'm giving you the thumbnail here, but
Sure.
toward the end of my career, I was never going to really retire, but I was definitely going to slow down, and my children were going to take over, and some of the other brokers there with some of the other offices. But we decided, myself and 2 other investment bankers decided to start another firm, another company. And a couple of our brokers that were working with us, and as we were building this company up, we were taking investment money in for operating expenses for the company, and what for this new company, I should say. And what happened is 3 of them, I didn't find out until unfortunately later, 3 of them had been lying and misleading clients and the investors. And when they got caught, they said that I told them to do that. And as you mentioned at the top of the show, I passed multiple polygraph tests, and the government, when they came after me, said that I was running a Ponzi scheme, which is normally what they say about financial guys. But they charged me with money laundering. They charged me with mail fraud, and I fought with the government for a long time, for years, and said I'm not going to plead to something I didn't do. Then, unfortunately, I found out, or fortunately, I should say, that I found out that if you go to court and you lose, that they sometimes, and usually, will sometimes double, maybe triple the amount of time that they were going to give you on a plea deal. And I was earning a great deal of money as a broker, and I gave a lot of money away to my brokers because I would give them business so that they could make money too. But God had blessed me with a great income, and I realized toward the end First of all, I was physically and emotionally exhausted. I just, I was literally spit at by people, literally pushed around
Hmm.
in stores from people, and I was a wounded animal. And the confidence, the pride that I had was long gone by that point. So when I really took a long, hard look as what was going to happen had I gone to court and really went to trial, I realized that the folks that are sitting on the jury, they're making 50, 60, 70,000, 80,000, whatever. I knew that the prosecutors would say, Mr. Gane, you were making X amount of dollars. That wasn't enough for you. You had to steal people's money. And these folks would hear that and
Yep.
think, well, how dare you? And I don't blame them. I mean, because that's the way we would think.
Hmm.
So I really did a lot of praying, and I don't mean that to be hokey. I really did a lot of praying. What should I do? What should I do? And I ended up, I mean, literally at the last minute pleading. And when I got sentenced, my judge sentenced me to 13 years, which was just unbelievable. And they knew I was innocent. They did. They knew that. And you know, but when these type of accusations go into the paper, which had happened that very first day that the government came into my office, my reputation that I worked so hard for over 34 years was instantly, if you can call 8 hours instantly destroyed. It was gone. And when you hear people steal money, and then the other, it's not funny, but the other angle was I was stealing from the elderly. It sounds, I guess it was a good soundbite, but it was pretty
It
tough to
is.
go
Yeah, that's what ends up
through.
happening. I mean, it's interesting. I've learned a lot of things I never thought I would know, but simple things like having somebody appear in the orange jumpsuit versus appearing in regular clothes
Oh
because of
yeah,
the bias that automatically creates in the jurors' minds and things like that.
yeah,
There's, and for sadly for some, because I don't want to, denigrate all prosecutors, but
right,
for some, it's more about the win than anything else.
yeah,
Like they don't
yeah,
they just want to win. They don't
yeah,
care if they even have the right person. It's just about the win. And for the most part, that's not everybody, but there's elements of that in what happened to you.
yeah. The prosecutor, in my opinion, is the most powerful person in the country, above the president, above anybody. I mean, they are the power because they can bring charges on anybody. And as there's an old saying that they can indict a ham sandwich, and it's true. I mean, you could put something together, and when 24 people was, which is what a grand jury is, where a jury trial in court is 12 people, but the a grand jury is 24. When you have 24 people that hear the prosecutor and as the accused, you don't dare go in front of those people because you start getting cross-examined right then. Your attorney cannot help you, and they indict most everybody because again, I know we talked about this before the show started, but most people are brought up with that truth, justice, and American way. That well, maybe you didn't do what they accused you of, but you did something because they just don't arrest you for no reason. When in fact, the government themselves says 3 to 5% of the people that are housed in their prisons right now are innocent. And there's agencies that really are probably more accurate that say it's between 15 and 20%.
Yeah.
My experience has been, and I know you said this at the top of the program, that people go to prison and say, "Well, I'm innocent, I'm not guilty, I didn't do this," and so on. It was my experience that people fessed up and said, I did some stupid stuff I shouldn't have done. I did this, I did that, drug use, whatever the case may
Sure.
be. But when you're living with people 24/7, you can tell who is the innocent guy and who isn't. And I know I don't want to pretend that I'm judging anybody. I'm just doing that from observation.
Sure.
And I would find very, very few people, but if I knew about their case, I watch the way they behave. And there's a few that I know in my heart that they were truly innocent. Many people also in the white collar world get over sentenced and
Mhm.
some get real lenient and don't really get sentenced to what they should do. But don't get me wrong, there's a lot of bad people in prison. So
Oh, absolutely. And but I also, like I said, I've met people, a gentleman I won't name him, but He was accused of killing someone that he definitely did not.
Mm,
There was witness, like there was alibis and witness. They did everything they could, and this person spent decades till he
yeah.
was finally had his sentence commuted. They
Right.
still haven't actually expunged it. They've just commuted it and
Yeah.
let him out.
Yeah.
Um, and what was really, really aggravating is when you have people who they know they didn't do certain things, but they can't appeal it because it's not, they didn't violate the procedure. A
Right.
lot
No,
of
I know
people
exactly
don't,
what you mean.
a lot of people don't realize that an appeal isn't really based on, oh, new information came to light.
Hmm.
An appeal of a verdict is really around, did the court somehow violate the process or the procedure?
Right. Right.
And so, shout out to groups like the Innocence Project and others that are doing great
Absolutely.
work. And thank you so much for telling your story because you have done what so many people could really learn from. And that is you took what could have been a devastating, for some people, life-ending,
Hmm.
you know, experience. You turned pain to purpose,
Hmm.
and you've used that to help others. So let's talk about that. Let's talk
Okay.
about Guy, who is now the one who does talks and works with
Hmm.
others and has written books. How
Hmm.
did you find the courage after everything that you'd been through to step
Hmm.
out and say, okay, I'm going to use my story, my experience?
I'm like going back in my memory bank as to, where it all starts. But it was shortly after I had gone to prison, and I was devastated. I couldn't believe oh my God, you hear these stories about prison. And I remember that day that I walked in, that night that I walked onto the block, and I was like, oh my God. But the thing is that it took me a couple of months to really wrap my head around the way things were, and that I wasn't going to get out of prison anytime soon. And I thought, I think most people have probably seen that movie, The Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
And there's a part in there where Red, played by Morgan Freeman, says it's time to get busy living or get busy dying. And I
Hmm.
know that sounds like a cute little cliche from a movie, but you know what? I remembered it because I had seen Shawshank Redemption and said, "Oh my God, I hope I'll never go there." But anyway, but the thing is that I just decided that I was going to put this all to good use. So I started writing a book a few months after I got there, and it was funny because I still have it. Did everything in longhand, and I did not have that one published. Not because it wasn't good, it wasn't that good. But the thing was, it was really more of my story of what had happened with the case and so on. But when I looked back on it, after I did write some other books as the years went on, I realized that that was really kind of the beginning of, the opportunity to start putting things and feelings and such into words. A few years later, I wrote a few different books. And one of them is a book called Chrysalis, Awakening to God's Path, Protection, and Power in Your Life. And that particular one is, I don't want to say it's a religious book, but it leans back on scripture, and especially on the things that Christ himself had taught. And for those of you who are Christian and into the Bible, over and over and over, Jesus kept saying, have faith, don't doubt, just believe. And there's so many great stories in the Bible that Jesus talks about. One that I loved, I put a few in the book, but one that I love was the story about Jairus. What Jairus had come to Jesus and said, "My daughter is very, very sick. Could you come and help me and do something for her?" So Jesus follows him, and just before they get to this to Jairus's house, Jairus, by the way, was an official in the Jewish temple. So just before they get to the house, the people in the house and outside of the house say, "Don't bother the master because your daughter's dead." And as a father, that was very powerful to me because having children myself, I can only imagine what that feeling would have been like. And what does Jesus do? He turns to Jairus, who's devastated at that news, and says, "Don't doubt, just believe." Of course, Jesus goes upstairs. The little girl awakens, and yet it was over and over when Peter, got out of the boat and was walking on water, and when they seen Jesus in the storm, and Jesus reaches his hand into the water because Peter all of a sudden says, "Oh my God, look what's going on! I can't do this," and he goes into the
Mm.
water. Jesus says, "Why did you doubt?" So, the thing was is that was really where the book was based around, and I had an opportunity to really get closer to my faith. And I don't want to say faith meaning like a denomination. I'm Italian. I was brought up Catholic, but the thing is that I've always believed that there's a God that helps us when we need Him. And I know we don't have time to talk about this today, but in my book, I really delve into this, where when you pray, don't pray like, "Oh my God, please help me. I don't know what I'm going to do." That because you've already set your belief system up that you're going to fail. And
Yeah.
prayer, effective prayer, is thank you, Lord, for helping me in whatever it is that you're looking for. As they say, we can talk about that another time. But, I wrote a couple other books. Another one was Unchained and Unbroken, which was about my working out. I lost a ton of weight in prison and really got healthy. And I had to have some prison stories in there as well. Nothing graphic or horrible, but, kind of experiences. And then when I came home, everybody kept asking me that was still around, what do you think about the stock market? What do you think the market's going to do? So for a couple of years, I said, well, I've been out of it. I don't really know. And really didn't want to bother with it, but it was always in my blood. So a couple of years after I came home, I've been home now for 5 years, but a couple of years after I came home, I decided to start writing a month or weekly newsletter. Really gave an opportunity as to what the markets are doing, where people should have their money, and I really geared that newsletter toward people who have the 401k, like at Target or Walmart, because nobody ever pays attention to them. And I mean, if you're going to deal with a broker, most brokers aren't going to deal with somebody less than $100,000, and many of them much more. So that really was targeted toward those people. I also wrote a book called Managed Money, An Avenue to Wealth, which really encapsulated everything that I did and how anyone could, really manage their own accounts. And when I wrote that book, it's very, very easy English, if I could put that plug in. All three of my books are on Amazon. But Managed Money is really unique because it gives, kind of a history of the markets and how to manage your money and what the things are that you should look for and so on and so forth. So, and then just before I left, I decided, I wanted people to be prepared. I mean, white collar people especially, to be prepared to walk into prison because I wasn't. So what I did is I put together a course, and that was the hardest thing to do because just before I left, I had to drudge up all of the horrible, horrible memories that I had for those years prior. And I put together this course. And before I went to prison, I was preyed upon by a prison consultant. I have nothing good to say about them, to tell you the truth, because I know these people take advantage of people that are panicking. They take
Yeah.
advantage of wives,
Mhm.
especially trying to get their husbands out of prison.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
And
so much so there's even a movie about it that
oh
making
yeah,
fun of the whole thing. I
yeah,
mean,
it's
yeah.
terrible. So what happened with me, I had a friend of mine who had heard about a prison consultant, and I was grasping at straws at that point. It was just a few months away, and what am I going to do? I hope I don't have to go to prison. Well, anyway, I talked to this guy. He charged me $5,000, which we did not have. I mean, we were broke. All of my money had been frozen from the government. They would not even let me get my own lawyer. I had to get a court-appointed lawyer. They wouldn't. I mean, I'm telling again, I can go
Yeah.
on and on, but this guy he promised the sun and the moon. I can do this and I can do that, and I've worked with people and so on. Well, my family, my extended family, put money together and somehow got $5,000 together. And back in those days, Barbara Ann, 5,000, and I'm not kidding, was like 5 million because we had to go to food pantries to eat. We had no money. We were
Mm.
broke. Now nobody felt bad for me because after all, I've stolen all these people's money, and I'm a ripoff artist and I'm a scam
Yeah.
artist and all of these other things. But anyway, this guy charged us 5,000, but I didn't hear from him for a few weeks. So I called him and I said, "Hey, when are we going to get going?" I was optimistic and hopeful. And he said, "What we're going to do," he said, "I want you to get the people that are going to send support letters. I'm going to coordinate that. And I'm going to send them to the judge." I said, "Well, I've already done that. Those letters are already in. What else are we going to do?" "Well, you know what? This is the federal government, and they're pretty tough, and we really don't have a lot of success. I said, wait a minute, you told me all of these things. Well, yeah, but it's the government, and I didn't realize how deep the case was. My wife, I was married at the time. My wife was livid
Yeah.
and said, "We want our money back."
Yeah.
Well, we don't give refunds. He stole $5,000 from us. So,
Wow.
you know, it was just to add it to another list
Yeah.
of misfortunes that we had. But again, when I was in prison and I was ready to leave, I decided to put a course together that people wouldn't have to go through that. We don't charge. The name of that company, if any of your viewers or
Yeah,
listeners,
please do share that
yeah,
information.
it's called Prisoncology, Prisoncology, prisoncology.com. We have a board of directors. We do prison mentorship, prison reform. I'm also a chaplain, New York State chaplain. But we don't charge. We help families. We just don't charge. We work with the Christian community nationwide, so we get paid in other ways. But people that are ready to go to prison generally don't have any money. And the
Yeah.
government has already made sure of that. And people are scared. They don't know what to do, especially if it's your first, what they call your first rodeo. You have no idea what you're going into. So this we try to alleviate. We have a 110-page ebook that we send to folks. We have one-on-one calls with them. I've talked to a number of wives who have been preyed upon, literally preyed upon, to get ripped off, that I've been able to help them and just tell them, look, you don't need to do it this way. This is what you should do. And ironically, Barbara Ann, these guys don't lie. I mean, they really don't. They say, we'll help you do this, 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 and this. Well, they lead you to believe they're going to perform miracles. But when it comes to, push comes to shove, there's no miracles there.
Yeah.
So, we really try to separate the fog from the clear sky. And again, that's part of my calling too.
So as believe it or not, as we start to wind down, um, again, I want to make sure everybody knows that the site that is prisoncology.com. So we
Hmm.
definitely want to
Hmm.
make sure that everybody knows that.
Right.
And of course, your information is also going to be shared along with this podcast episode on the platforms
Okay.
that we use,
Hmm.
including Spotify and YouTube and RSS feed and some others. So.
Hmm.
Um, as we wind down, what question do you wish I had asked that I didn't?
Yeah. How do you feel about all of this, Guy? Where are you right now? How do you feel about this right now?
How do you
Can I
feel?
answer that for you?
Absolutely.
My message to people, along with never giving up, and I'm the poster boy for that. I tell people I'm the guy that has been there and done that. And when I say that to people, I really have been there and I really have done that.
Yeah,
But I would say to people, forgive. No matter what people have done, what people have said. As I mentioned earlier, I had a couple of my brokers, which I understand. They were trying to, help themselves and not
sure.
get in trouble. So it's easier to just throw it upstairs and say, well, he told me to do it.
Mhm.
They have to live with themselves. And but they have to face God someday. We'll leave it at
Yep.
that. But, it's important to forgive, because if you don't forgive, people have a hold on you. I don't care what they've done to you. And I know if somebody knows somebody in their family that was murdered, or, whatever, a tragedy happened. I'm not going to sit here and say it's so easy. Don't worry about it. You'll get over it. It's not. It takes a long time. You raised your hand. You've been through things, Barbara Ann. I can only say work on it, but try to forgive people. And if you can, absolutely forgive them. Because if you do, you'll stop the hold
Yep.
that person or those people have on you. And I speak from experience. I don't dislike anybody. I don't hate anybody. I don't wish harm on anybody. I don't like what some of these people have done. Certainly don't like the judge that gave me 13 years, but I don't hate him. I don't dislike him. I forgave him because maybe what he had seen was, in his mind, justification to do what he did. But I'll end on this. There's a portion in the Bible, it's in Genesis actually, and people know about the story of Joseph. And if you don't know about the story of Joseph, I would really encourage people to read it. But Joseph says to his brothers who had sold him into slavery and expected him to die, his brothers finally at the end, came back unbeknownst. They didn't even know he was alive anymore. And
Yeah.
they were afraid when they found out that he was still alive and now he knew who they were. It's a beautiful story. It really is. But
Yep.
what does Joseph say? And I believe this with all of my heart. What you meant for evil, God meant for good.
Yep.
And I do believe that. And I've seen that. And I don't, I'm not trying to say I'm anointed because I'm not, but I'm just saying what people meant for evil, God meant for good. And I guess with that, I rest.
Awesome. And I that's a great place to, because whether you're a Christian or any other religion or even not a religion, you are a living example of what it means to either accept or convert the
Hmm.
circumstances that you've been dealt.
Right.
And you turned that to purpose and have helped so many other people who wouldn't have been helped because you chose that path. And so
Hmm.
thank you so much for coming on, for sharing your
Thank you for having me.
story,
Yeah.
for being so honest and raw and transparent about what happened. Because there are people out there that can definitely empathize, if not even relate to what you've
Yeah.
experienced. And you look really good for the age that you didn't actually disclose.
I'm 71.
Yeah, no one would ever have guessed that.
And
Eh,
don't have to say that's just me. This is my mother and father, I guess, had good genes. So I was blessed.
Awesome. Well, you definitely, no one would ever have guessed it. And clearly, you need those genes to keep going and spreading the
Right.
message to
You
help
know
others.
what? If I would say this, Barbara Ann, it's one of the things I pray to the Lord. I do that I can stay healthy because the people that lost money, they lost a lot of money in our company because of this. And
Yeah.
my goal in life is everybody should get paid back, and that's my goal is to get everybody paid back. They should never have lost money. Oh,
Awesome. Well, then we'll have to have you back when you can
I'd love
update us on
to.
that status.
I'd love
So,
to. Yeah.
all right. So, Guy, again, Guy can be reached at gainwisdom.com. He can be reached at marketwatch.gainwisdom.com. He can be reached at prisoncology.com. And is there anywhere else that you would say that would be easy for you to be found?
I really my emails are all there on the different sites,
Awesome.
and all of the sites, everything that I do is based on helping others. I know that sounds hokey,
No,
but it's the truth. It's to help other people, and whatever you do, don't give up. No matter how bad things are, don't give up because that's the easy way. The only time you fail is when you give up.
all right. All right. So thank you so much. And to all of the people out there who took the time to watch this really important conversation with Guy and our other podcasts. Thank you so much because you have so many different viewing choices these days and listening choices these days. So we really appreciate that you took the time to join us and hear our message. And we ask that if you found that this was beneficial for you, please, 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 especially if you know someone who's experienced something like Guy or any of our other guests, please share this with others so that this message can get out to a broader audience. And also, please remember whether you personally are looking to make changes in your life, no matter how big or small, tune in again for more illuminating, courageous, and fascinating conversations with guests such as Guy, who overcame seemingly insurmountable obstacles to convert their pain to purpose and find their why and to live it.